A few weeks ago, I picked up an Xbox Series X. I just feel more at home there. And of course, I am a physical collector, if you couldn't tell by the massive Xbox 360 games behind me. So naturally, I started building out my Xbox collection, and the first game I played was a digital one on Game Pass, and that was Powerwash Simulator. I've mentioned this many a time in videos in the last couple of weeks. I'm showing off my new physical pickups. I'm like, well, I'll play this, but after I finish Powerwash Simulator. I think I'm going to give this a go after I finish Powerwash Simulator. And I've had quite a few comments suggesting that I'm not a real gamer because Powerwash Simulator isn't a real game.
That is completely wacko jacko.
So Powerwash Simulator is literally what it says on the tin. There is no extra frills with this whatsoever. You get given a pressure washer and a van. Your first mission in career mode, because that's right, you do have a career mode to play through, is to wash the van. You need to present yourself in this sort of clean manner, right? You need people to hire you for other jobs. How are they going to do that if you drive up in a mud-slopped covered van? So you clean the whole thing off and you get a ding after you finish every part. And it's satisfying. You can change the nozzle to make it a sort of wider spread, if you will. It's not as powerful, but you do get a bigger coverage. And after a while, you'll start to learn what works, what doesn't work. You move on to doing other vehicles. You'll move on to doing buildings. You'll end up on Mars doing the Mars rover for some reason. And there are some other really weird levels where you start cleaning a camper van that turns into a UFO. These are very few and far between, to be honest. It's not as weird as I'm making it out to be. And for many of you, me describing this game may sound a little bit weird, and why would you want to play that kind of thing? And it's definitely geared toward a specific type of person or gamer, if you will, and those type of people are people who enjoy cozy games where you don't really have to think too much about what's going on screen. For example, I watched a lot of TV and movies while playing this game, listened to a lot of music while playing this game, and there are plenty of other games that offer this. Unpacking, for example, is a game that I've played through recently. It didn't really take me much more than an hour to finish, and the game is literally what it says on the tin. Much like Powerwash Simulator, you have to just unpack stuff. So you have a very, very small bit of story. You start off as a kid, you go to college, you get a job, and so on and so forth, and as you move into each different house or apartment, you have to unpack boxes and put things away in a way that you would like them to be put away. If you leave the settings as default, you have to unpack the boxes and put things away as the game wants you to put them away and where the game wants them to be. If you turn a certain setting off, which is under the accessibility tab, you can put things away wherever you want them to go, and you can still complete the game, unlock all the achievements, and enjoy it at your own pace without running into any errors or nope, that doesn't go there, find somewhere else to put it. And some people may say, well, that's kind of cheating, but if it's a setting in the game, it's not really cheating. It's just how I want to play the game, and it's how I played the game. I completed it in terms of achievements anyway. I got 1,000 off it, and I enjoyed it. And it didn't take too long, and I do like those type of games where it doesn't take you too long to finish them. An hour, 2 hours, anywhere up to 4 hours I would consider to be a short game. Powerwash Simulator, on the other hand, that is not a short game. Of course, if you only want to do 1 or 2 levels every now and again, you're not bothered about completing the career mode or unlocking achievements or anything, this is a great game to jump in every now and again for a few hours, get that satisfying dopamine hit of cleaning things. But if you are somewhat of a completionist, you can't really start a new game until you've finished an old game, which is where I land, and that is really frustrating. I wish my brain wasn't wired that way, but I absolutely cannot play another game until I finish playing the main game that I'm playing, right? For the most part anyway. And Powerwash Simulator was that game for me. I wanted to play so many things. I was picking up so many games that I had on the backlog, I guess, that I couldn't get to until I finished it. How long did it take me to finish it? Well, I have over 50 hours into Powerwash Simulator, which may sound sad, and it is. It's very sad. I actually started to cry toward the end of the game because I couldn't wait to finish it. It was mind-numbing. It was hurting my brain toward the end of the game. I'm not sure if this is meant to be, and excuse the pun here, blasted through as fast as it can be, but that's kind of what I tried to do with it. It started off as this very therapeutic game where washing away years of dirt and grime gave me a great sense of satisfaction. Toward the end of the game, I was just throwing that thing around, just get it done, I need this thing finished. For those of you who have played the game, I'll tell you the exact level that I started to feel this way, and it was the subway. And if you know that, you'll know that that's around 65-70% of the way through the game. And anywhere from that level onwards, the levels start to take a long time. It is not abnormal for you to spend hour and a half, 2 hours on one level. I'd love to tell you the longest I spent on one level, and maybe there's a way I could go back and find out, but off the top of my head, the treehouse level came close. I don't know if it's actually called treehouse, but it's in a forest and you have sort of different levels. It's all made of wood. That took a long time for me to do. The last level took a long time. I actually thought I would finish the whole thing quite quickly. I looked at it and I thought, well, it doesn't look that bad, and then you go inside and oh God, the whole thing is just caked in mold. And it takes so much effort to get it off, and it can be satisfying, and these games can be really enjoyable. And of course, this game is based on those sort of TikTok videos and Instagram reels of people bringing in these sort of mud-caked 30-year-old rugs that are completely unrecognizable, and then just pumping them full of soap and water, and you can see them getting cleaner shade by shade until they are that brilliant white that they once were. And it is so satisfying to watch that thing in 60 seconds or less. But in practice, playing Powerwash Simulator, yes, in the beginning where you get these very quick rushes of dopamine when you're finishing the van or the golf buggy or the motorbike, for example, they don't take that long to finish. But the things that take really long, the backyard at the very beginning, for example, that thing was daunting. It took so long to get it done. And of course, at the very beginning of the game, you're not that experienced. And I know what you're thinking, well, can you be experienced at pressure washing? So it's just pointing a hose at a dirty surface until it becomes clean. But there are actual techniques to these things. And I'm sure there are speed runners out there who can do these things very, very quickly. But when you're first starting out in the game, it takes you a long time to get through that type of level. A level that should probably only take around 30 to 40 minutes probably took me an hour and a half. I'm very happy to say that I finished it though, and I took a screenshot to prove it, although you can look at my achievements and see that I have completed the main story. And that's one of the biggest draws for completing video games for me, is that I have it documented there that I've finished it. And I love ticking off games. I love finishing a main story in a video game. Achievements going alongside it is fantastic, and that is a huge, huge plus point of playing on the Xbox for me personally. I love achievements, love collecting the score, want to build it up as high as possible, but going through each and every individual game, knocking off achievements, then popping up during the gameplay. You've been trying to do something for ages, or in Powerwash Simulator terms, there is a garden gnome on top of this really creepy looking building, and you have to keep the gnome there while you clean the rest of the building. The gnome cannot fall off the roof. That was one of the most, not difficult, but just, I don't know, nerve-wracking, painful achievements in the game. And there are quite a few of those, to be fair. Cleaning the firehouse without using any equipment, other than your power wash, of course. I had to like hang out of the windows of each level, trying to power wash everything, hang off the railings off the top of the building. Luckily, there's no fall damage in this game, otherwise I would be dead. But you get the idea. Achievements add something to games, and that's why I love them. And that's probably why it took me over 50 hours to complete the main story that should probably only have taken me, what, 35, 40 at most. But these games absolutely do have a place in our libraries. Not everyone, sure. If you love Call of Duty and FIFA, for example, and those are the only games you play, chances are you're still not watching this video, but if you are, people do enjoy this type of game. Powerwash Simulator is not a bad game, and it is absolutely a game. And it's something that I think everyone should try, especially those who will look at it and scoff and say, well, why are you playing that? Those type of people need to play this more than those looking forward to it. So you can understand why someone would want to come home from doing a hard job all day to playing a video game like this, where you can just turn your brain off. And yes, it is a video game, but achieve something very simple, very satisfying. And I have called it brain rot, essentially. And it is, because toward the end of it, it was doing something to my mind. I didn't feel like I was losing brain cells, but it wasn't far off. I needed something a little bit more stimulating, if you will. And I'm glad I finished it, but had I known then what I know now and how painful it would have been at the end, because this game is unbelievably repetitive, I'm not sure whether I would have pressed play or not. I'd love to hear from you in the comments of what type of games you enjoy playing, but more specifically, do you like these simulator type games? A very similar game to this actually is House Flipper. And that's another game that I've downloaded, but a game that I am absolutely not going to press press play on for a very long time, because I feel like that is the same thing as this to a certain extent. Now, I have played House Flipper, full disclosure here. I played it on the PC many moons ago, and I enjoyed it, to be fair. That's why I downloaded it, right? I wanted to play it again, and I want to get the achievements this time. But it's a very similar game to Powerwash Simulator, in the sense of you have to go into a building and clean. But of course, the difference there is you get to rearrange furniture and paint walls and tart the whole place up and then sell it on for a profit, and then use that money to buy another run-down, dilapidated building and do the exact same thing again. But that's my point. It's so repetitive. It's genius in a way, because it does make you want to keep doing it. It does have a very repetitive game loop, but a very addictive game loop. It might sound stupid from the outside looking in, but these games are genius, and that's why they're so successful. That's why every other game you flick through on Steam is something simulator. I mean, they have a bee simulator, for crying out loud. Now that it's finished, I have actually gone through and played a few other games. I finished Unpacking, for example. I went and played Open Roads, which was really interesting. A very different game that I'm used to playing, but I heard it was very short, and it is very short if you know what you're doing. I did look at a guide for some things, because I wasn't really willing to just look around everything and pick everything up and turn everything round. So I did look at a guide, especially for the achievement side of things. But I enjoyed the story. There wasn't really anything to it in a way. It wasn't groundbreaking. It took me less than 2 hours to finish, and that's absolutely fine. I love short games for the most part. Of course, longer games do have their place. Red Dead as an hour-long game would be terrible. So games like that need to be long, and they are very good at what they do. But I do love having these type of short games that I can pick up, play, finish, put down, satisfied that I've finished it and added another one to the list, if you will, and we can now move on to something else. If you know of a game that is on Xbox, even Game Pass, or you can buy physically, that will only take me a few hours to finish, and you think is a very good playthrough, whether it has a good story or a nice addictive game loop, for example, let me know in the comment section, because I'm always interested to try things that I wouldn't necessarily go for. I would say that my gaming palette has changed a lot since my younger years. I was going through my gamer score, and the amount of games that I've played and some of the things that I've played, very questionable, but I'm glad I've played every single thing. And as I progress through in life and through my gaming journey, and I'm playing Powerwash Simulator, Open Roads, Unpacking, I'm going through Creed Champions as I speak. I finished Aladdin and Lion King for the God knows how many times last week. I'm playing this, that and everything, and I'm bouncing around between different genres, and I'm really enjoying myself. And it does make me wonder why some people are just pigeonholed into one specific category. I know plenty of people out there who will only play the same 3 games year on year. They play Call of Duty every year, they buy FIFA every year, and then they might branch out and be a little bit adventurous with an Assassin's Creed or a Far Cry. And that's kind of all they play, which is really weird to me, because there are so many games out there that will offer enjoyment, and you can play them in a short space of time. Or you can dedicate hours of your life to a game like Powerwash Simulator, but still walk away from it feeling satisfied, which doesn't really make an awful lot of sense to me, because it's power washing dirty surfaces at its core. I don't understand, and I still don't get it, why I even clicked play on that game, but how I managed to enjoy myself for as long as I did. I didn't know how long that game was going to take before I played it, and like I mentioned previously in this video, had I known then what I know now, that it was going to take me 50 plus hours to finish the career mode, I'm not quite sure I would have pressed play, because time is precious, right? We don't have 15 hours a day anymore to sit there and just play through video games. And that's why I do like websites like howlongtobeat.com. It can be very handy to go and have a look to see, on average anyway, how long it'll take you to finish a specific game. It can be off-putting as well, which I'm not a big fan of, but swings and roundabouts at the end of the day. Do I recommend Powerwash Simulator? Yes, for the most part I actually did enjoy myself. It's very relaxing. It's brain rot at its finest, or mind rotter, as I've called it. The line from Red Dwarf, if you're unaware.
All the valuables are in this here box. You can have it all for 1 bottle of Mind Rotter.
And yeah, it won't be for everyone, and these type of games are not for everyone, but if you are the type of person who just likes to kick back and watch a TV show while playing a video game, or listen to an audiobook or some music or something, this is one of those games that will take you a long time to finish. You can get through an awful lot of other media while doing it, but still enjoy both, until you get to the latter stages of Powerwash Simulator and you want to jump out of a window.